I'm super excited to have Flo, the CEO of Lindy. The way I think about Lindy is Zapier for AI. I know that's how you've referred to it in the past. I don't know if you have a different way of referring to the business now. How would you describe Lindy in your own words?
Yeah, I go back and forth between Zapier for AI and like it's just like ChatGPT except it does stuff. Like it uses a computer, it uses Gmail, it uses your accounts, and you can configure it in a very, very advanced fashion to automate very complex workflows for you.
Yep, love it. So I think you'd agree, like the best way to just understand, and the topic of today is just how to build AI agents, how to make them more approachable. Because I think kind of the classic way that people experience AI agents in the world right now is they're scrolling through Twitter or they're scrolling through LinkedIn and they see someone built some wildly complex N8N workflow. They save that video being like, oh shit, I want to do this myself. They never revisit the video, and that is their experience with AI agents. And so my hope for today is that people can realize that whether it's simple agents, whether it's more complex agents, it is not as daunting as one thinks. They are really powerful. It's also not magic yet. Like we have to be realistic about what these things can do. And I think the best way to do it is just have you kind of take me through what that looks like within Lindy. Sound like a plan?
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm a big fan of show, don't tell. And I also agree with you that I think AI agents have been really complex to use and deploy over the last few years. And frankly, they've not worked super well. And there has been a lot of like hucksterism. There's been a lot of bullshit out there and hype and a lot of people making a lot of promises that they're not always able to fulfill. And so that's one thing I'm going to be careful not to do. Like I'm very real about the limits of the product. And I'm going to be like, look, this is going to be sort of big, it's going to be sort of rough. But the reality of it is like, I think over the last literally 2 or 3 months, I think we've really made that leap. I think we've reached that tipping point of like what I call the Macintosh of AI agents. Like we are no longer in the command line interface era of like you've got to be an engineer. It's like it's really hard and all of that stuff. It's like no, like it's really a thing. It's like a PC on everyone's desk. It's really a thing that you can leverage now, and in a matter of literally minutes, create pretty advanced agents that like solve real problems for you.
Amazing. So do you want to just hop right into it and we'll start going through the workflows?
Let's do it. Let me share my screen.
Perfect.
It's actually
and
cool. I'm really go ahead.
I was going to say, as Flo shares a screen, everyone who's here, and I know it's growing. We have 61 people now. More will come in. Feel free, as you hear anything from Flo or as he's going through these agents that he's built, if you have any questions at all, drop them in the chat. And then we have a few folks from the community that are moderating the chat and will kind of flag to me questions, and I'll ask a few of those at the end for Flo. Sweet.
Awesome. Great. Can you see this?
Yep.
I'll just start with like a literal like, whoa, this is not supposed to be 10 seconds. But I think I've got the wrong one open. So this shows how easy it is to create AI agents. And like I've asked this, so we call it the agent builder. So it's like an agent that builds agents for you. It's actually cool. Like under the hood, it is a Lindy. Like we built it literally on the platform. And so here I'm asking it like, hey, help me manage my personal CRM. And it's going, it's asking me like some clarifying questions. And then it's like, is this what you want me to do? And I'm like, sure. And then in the end, right here, it just created this agent. That's basically literally.
Talk about for why a second that's such a, because this is a recent product that you released at Lindy. Talk about why that's such a big unlock and how that looks different from before what you had to do with agent building.
Yeah, totally. So it used to be to create this kind of agent. So for context, this is an agent that like you can send it messages and you can ask it to either remember a contact or retrieve a contact. So you can be like, hey, I just met like Alex Lieberman, like he's got a podcast, you know? And then later on, I can be like, can you tell me everyone I know who's got podcasts? Okay, so that's the idea. It used to be, and this is the platform that we've built over the last 3 years, that in order to build this kind of agent, what you had to do was basically lay out this workflow yourself manually. And it's not code, it's still no code, but it's still going to require at least something like an engineering mindset, and you're going to have to learn to use this platform. And people are too busy; they don't have time for that, right? Like it's going to take you a couple of hours to like learn how it works, and eventually it's really powerful. You can create really powerful agents, but no one's got time to learn. Instead, now this is literally just our vision is to build an AI employee. Like you just talk to it, and it just does stuff. And if it screws up, you can just tell it not to screw up and give it feedback, and it's going to get better and better. That's what we have now with Agent Builder. I'm just like literally just help me manage my personal CRM. It's like 6 words. There's no technical knowledge required here, and it's just asking me some questions. Is this what you want? I'm like, yep. and then creates the agent for me. Again, I'm always careful to avoid the exteriorism. Obviously, this is an abridged video, but in actuality, it doesn't last 10 seconds, but it takes a minute and a half. I love it, Alex. Just before this call, like you sent me a list of like use cases you have, like actual use cases, and one of them is you wanted an agent that takes your YouTube interviews and turns them into newsletters, and then sends you a social media post. I don't know if this was like sensitive or anything. Maybe I can't talk about it.
No. This is all good.
So you can see like the time. Like I created this morning at 9:30 a.m. And by the way, I was going slower than usual because I was also like chatting with the team on Slack and all of that stuff. But look, it's not rocket science. I'm literally just saying it. I want an agent that takes a list of YouTube links and loops through each of them, transcribes the link, turns it into a newsletter draft on a new Google Doc, and then writes a LinkedIn post about it. That's it, okay? And you can see I told it at 9:30 a.m. to do this, and I'm going to backtrack straight to the end and open my Google Drive here. And right here, you can see the Google Docs that it's created, and you can see the time, 9:37 a.m. So between the moment I pressed return to the moment I got the output, there was like less than 7 minutes. And right here, I've got a Google Docs with a bunch of like insights. It's asking me
it's crazy. And so a few questions about this. First is, let's just say I wanted this to be an ongoing system. So like anytime I'm on a podcast or anytime I come out with a new YouTube video, how would one build this just kind of recurring system that is constantly almost loading up this content database that I have? Because one of the ways I think about content, especially like for founder content, is there's not a lot of time to create social content. So like what's the always on content in the background that's just repurposing of evergreen content that existed before? And then when a CEO does have the time, that's when they can kind of tweet things off the cuff on a periodic basis.
100%. So I'll show you some examples of like very simple agents I have that do something similar. I've got thousands of agents, and this one, for some reason, I've got 2 of it, but it's like the podcast follower. So I don't have as much time, unfortunately, to listen to podcasts anymore. And so what I do is I have this agent here that I created this one before Agent Builder, so it's a little bit more complex. But it's basically, there's like a recurring schedule trigger here. And I'm like, hey, every Monday at 9, you wake up. I think this one does the same. Every Monday at 9, you wake up and you search the internet for the user's preferred podcasts. And then for each podcast, you transcribe them, and then you send me the transcription. And I think here in my memories, I forgot which one it is, but like maybe it's this one. I think it's this one. Yeah, right here. I'm like, hey, you perform a thing, and like my memories are like, I like Lenny's podcast and First Round's podcast. And so every week on Monday, I receive an email in my inbox with the summaries of this podcast. So that's how you do it. You just create this timer trigger. And it used to be that you had to know this. Now you don't even need to know it. You can just ask the agent builder, like, hey, make this happen every morning at 9 a.m.
That's awesome. One question back to the flow you created for my YouTube videos, because I can imagine like there's so many use cases for this. Obviously, it can be used for any of my prior content. So it can be used for personal brand, but it also can be used for like companies who want to repurpose, whether it's website content or product marketing content to use on social. But I think one of the big issues that marketing teams and content teams have with AI today is like a lot of it is AI slop and the voice in which AI writes. And some people are saying that GPT-5 was going to be better at writing in like a voice that doesn't feel very AI-y. But is there any way with kind of this flow or this editor to have control over the voice it writes in?
Yeah. So that's the beauty of the agent builder. Is like it is not an agent; it's an agent builder. And so you get to inspect the agent it's built. You get to see exactly what it did. And so I find like this sort of co-pilot paradigm is really powerful because I call it the chisel and the sandpaper, right? You get an agent to just do the first draft of whatever you want to do, and then you go and we give you really advanced knobs and sliders and controls to control your agent's behavior on a very granular basis. So here you can see the entire workflow. I can go in the step where it is creating a newsletter draft. That's a Google Docs step. And I can see the prompt here. Create a newsletter title based on the YouTube video content, and here the content is just automatic. And I can prompt it here, right? And I can select the model here. So I think GPT-5 is right here. But like in my experience, and it's funny, like until literally last night, I agreed with you. And then last night at like, I think 10 p.m. or something like that, I was sending a proposal to a client. And I got Lindy to draft the proposal for me. And I asked my Lindy, I almost want to share it, but I don't want to share it because it's my meeting recordings. Come on. No, it's fine. Maybe I can share it. Can I share it?
Let's go.
No, I'm not going to share it. I'm not going to share it.
If I sit here long enough, Flo's going to go back and forth and convince himself.
Well, if I'm going to share it. I'm just going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to go to the tasks that I used. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screenshot, and I'm going to redact it live as we speak.
Sounds good.
Where is it? It was yesterday.
And just as Flo's finding that, if anyone has questions about anything related to kind of the content agent that Flo created for kind of taking my YouTube videos, transcribing them, turning them into newsletter drafts, or anything kind of in kind of the content or marketing agentic workflow kind of vertical, feel free to drop them in the chat as well, and we can try to get to them at the end.
Yeah. Okay. I found it, and I'm currently redacting it.
Cool. And then before you bring it up, Flo, let's also, before the end of the chat, let's also make sure you just show an example, if you have one available, of how you're using computer use now, because I know that's newer to the platform and it's obviously very powerful.
100%. Okay. All right. Save. Put it in my downloads folder. And I'm gonna share my screen again.
Sweet.
So this was last night. You're gonna be able to see the time on it. And I have my Lindy meeting recorder. And again, that's the beauty of Lindy and of these agents in general, is like my Lindy records meetings, and then I can just chat with it directly in the chat. And so after the meeting, I was like, hey, can you write a follow-up email following this format? And I was like, I want you to talk about the problem. I want you to talk about the solution. And look, it like I thought well, shit, I didn't redact all of it. I'm doing this live, okay?
It's okay.
I thought probably the email was really good.
Yeah, and just a question on that is, when you actually went to prompt the proposal, kind of like, what is your experience on how much context, or how important is the way in which you're guiding the agent? Like, how much information did you give it to get it to a place where you just told me before that for the first time you actually felt like you didn't really need to tune the voice or edit it so much, like it was just really good at doing it?
Yeah, I totally embrace the context engineering framing that people are pushing these days, because I really do believe it is about the context. And if you give it enough context, it really does become quite good. And so that's a very big thing that we think about. And in this context, look, this was a task that had the entire meeting history that I just had with this person. That's a lot of tokens, by the way. That's like an hour's worth of spoken words, So that's a lot of context. And then I just gave it on top of it one example of an email that I wrote before. That's all it took. And the email, frankly, in the end, like I barely had to make any edits.
It's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah. And out of curiosity, because I think people see this and they're like, this is awesome, but they're like, I think people's feeling, whether they're exec level or not in an organization right now, they're like, this stuff is all awesome, but I just don't have the time to rework my whole workflow. Like, so someone's typical workflow probably is they have a call with a client, they then take an hour at the end of their day to go look at their notes if they've transcribed it, write the whole email. And so they're like, when can I actually find the time to rework my whole workflow? What is your response to people? use the agent builder?
Yeah, basically. I mean, like you can see here again, it took me end-to-end basically 6 minutes. Yeah. And it's not because I'm an expert in the platform. It's because I literally just asked it for an agent, and it built the agent for me. I'm also thinking, since I'm sharing my screen, I'm going to show it. You know that meme with like too busy to improve? It's like these people who are pushing like a square wheel, and they're like, and some guy next to them is like, hey, can I help with you with like a round wheel? It's like, no, sorry, we're too busy. It's like, look, don't be that guy. It's like it really
Totally.
doesn't take a long time, and the reality of evolving in a rapidly changing world is like you do have to constantly learn and improve and adapt yourself to the latest technologies. So, and I think we're really at a point now where like it is no longer rocket science. It's literally just prompt it and does stuff for you.
Absolutely. You want to show an example of computer use?
Yeah, 100%. I
Let's do
actually
it.
used it a couple of days ago. I think it was yesterday. I used it this morning to order, maybe it's going to be too TMI, but I ordered like vitamin B12 and creatine because I want to get jacked,
Oh yeah, gains.
Gains. It's all about the gains. Let's do shots of creatine live. Okay, yesterday, and I'm going to be careful here too what I show because I don't want you to see my credit card number, but I was like, hey, go to Amazon and buy 40 plus whiteboard black thick mark. I actually made the typos like markets, but it understood that like I wanted markers. Like min rate 4.5 stars. Like it's just amazing. I feel like we're all regressing, like we're becoming dumber and dumber because these models are so smart that like the way I prompt them is like I'm just typing words, like I trust that it's going to understand. And look, it's just like, right, it's finding markers. It searching for them. It's getting a good brand in the end, like Expo, like I guess, it's like an expensive brand. Adding to cart, and in the end, it's just like did the entire order.
And where do you get involved here? Just in the final process of signing in and payment?
It literally asked me, which by the way, I don't like. It's asking me like, hey, I'm all good. Do you want me to check out? I'm like, yes, please check out.
But yeah, I think that makes total sense. And just in a work context, because like I know, I was watching your conversation with Greg and computer use you were using for like LinkedIn DMing, and I'm not sure, that's even an interesting question. Like I think an obvious powerful way to use it is for hiring, so doing outreach to potential employees, or using it for kind of outbound sales. And I like the way you framed it in the past, which is like outbound sales. It like it's just like not magically fixed because of these AI agents. Like you still have to be good at doing the thing. But I guess like give me just a sense of like in a work context how computer use is used that you think is really powerful for companies.
Yeah, it's tricky because almost by definition, computer use is going to be used in the long tail. It's going to be used in services that don't offer an API. That's why the example you hear about most often is LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is like one of the last really big services that purposefully does not offer an API because they don't want people to do what we're doing with computer use. But 90% of the time, and that is something that actually happened yesterday in that meeting, like people asked, like in that meeting yesterday, it was like a healthcare company, and they asked for some integration with some obscure CRMs. Like, oh, do you integrate with X? And the answer is no. And this is why we built computer use, is because we spent the last 2 years building so many integrations. Like if you go here in Lindy and you click this plus button here and you can click add actions, you can see the thousands and thousands, like literally thousands of integrations we built. Like we spent so much time doing this stuff. And eventually we realized like it's never going to be enough. It's just like sometimes the APIs are simply not good enough. Like QuickBooks APIs are really fleshed out, and yet there's still a lot of stuff that you can't do with it that you can do with the UI. And it's less user-friendly to have to manipulate APIs versus just showing it what you want to do on a screen. So basically, like computer use is used in that long tail of like everyone's using these like obscure tools all day, and sometimes they're like internal tools that by definition don't have an API opened up to the world. So computer use lets you use the AI agent to automate these tools.
Love it. What are other ways that you're using your own platform within your company, either you personally or your team? What are just other workflows that, because I'm assuming like Lindy as a business is run off of hundreds of different Lindy workflows. What are other ones that come to mind that you obviously have to be retrofit for other companies, but could be really powerful for either teams or for a CEO or a founder?
Yeah. Oh, I have so many. I mean, we have like thousands, like literally thousands of Lindys in the company because each of us has like hundreds of them. The Recruiter is one that I personally really like. This is ironic. I used Lindy Recruiter to hire a recruiter. So you can see, I'm like, hey, because and again, to my point about like the hucksterism, like we are not at the point where like it is as good as a human, obviously.
Yep.
And so, I visited an Amazon warehouse years ago, and if you go there, by the way, I highly recommend everyone to go there. Like you can book a tour, and it's spectacular. It's huge, and it's robots everywhere. It's just incredible. And yet you also still see a lot of people, and you ask them like, why do you still have people in there if you've invested so much in robotics? And they say, they call it going dark, like because if you really remove the humans, you can literally turn off the lamps, and the warehouse can be dark. And they're like, going dark is almost impossible because there is this very long tail of edge cases of stuff that happens, and humans are really good at that. So the bread and butter, like what I'm about to show you right here, that is sort of the bread and butter of a recruiter. But then the long tail of what they do all day, of like catching exceptions and rescheduling and all of that stuff, an AI agent can't do that. So that said, bread and butter, it can do it. I'm like, okay, help me find 30 recruiters at companies of more than 40 people and less than 300 people with at least 4 years of experience in San Francisco. Searches for people, sends me this entire list. And then I'll actually show you a better example. It's like, all right, and then it's like finds this entire list, and then it's like, which of those do you want me to reach out to? And I'm like, all of them. And then reaches out to all of them, and this is agent swarms. This is a thing we released like 4 months ago. It kicks off a swarm. So it's like it kicks off sub-agents to reach out to all of these recruiters all at once. And you can see for each of these recruiters, what it does is it first searches my email to make sure that I've not reached out to this person before. And then in the end, when all the swarms are done, like they all collapse back down into this parent agent. And it's like, okay, I did it. And by the way, 24 of them I reached out to, but 5 of them you had reached out to previously. And it's actually funny, Christy Simpson, we ended up hiring. So this worked. Funny. Like Christy Simpson now works at Lindy. She's our recruiter. So recruiting is a really big one. Customer support.
Just a question on this one. How hard is this to build? Because I think people see this and then you start talking about swarms and people's brains probably break. They're like, oh God, swarms probably means it's super complex. It's going to take me hundreds of hours to build this. To build this exact flow, how hard is this for someone to do?
Well, first of all, we have a template. So like you can just install the template and like in 5 clicks, 10 minutes, you're going to have it configured and it just works. If you want to build it from scratch, it's become really easy. It used to be really hard. It's become really easy because I'll show you under the hood the way this agent works. This is the agent. So let me zoom in. This is the agent. So it's like, all right, I'm asking you for things, and then you search for people, and then and this purple box here is an agent swarm. So like you loop through all of the candidates, you search for email, you send the email, you send reminders. Like it used to be quite involved. Once you understand the platform, just took me 15 minutes. But you do have to like ramp up to the platform. It's not rocket science. Like if you can figure out how to use a spreadsheet, you can figure out how to use this. But now it's even easier with the agent builder.
What would you have to? How descriptive would you have to be in the agent builder to basically have it build what you just showed?
Not very descriptive. Like the example of Lindy I created just before this is using an agent swarm.
Yep.
And all I asked it, I was like, hey, I want an agent that takes a list of YouTube links and then loops through each of them. I guess the loops through is really tipping it. Like I'm just used to talking to the agent builder at this point, but I suspect even if I hadn't said the loop through, I think it would still have worked.
Got it. Yeah. So basically, it's doing the same thing, which is the swarm of agents is just running the same job over and over and over. And by you saying loop, it's just inherently creating the swarm, but you think that it probably could have created the swarm even if you didn't say that. That's
right. And by the way, it's not really hard to say loop. But like, yeah, even if I said for each, like reach out to all of them, I think it would have known to use an agent swarm here.
Yep. What else? What else do you think is interesting to talk about that folks would find interesting on the call?
I think customer support is just like the biggest no-brainer. Like it breaks my heart to think that companies are spending so much time and money doing customer support, while like it's basically completely automatable now. Customer support is a really big one. Personal assistance.
Can you take me through a customer support agent and like how it actually works?
I don't have one here because this is my personal account, like the company account. I would need to like dig it up.
All good.
Let me see. Do I have one here that could be sort of customer support? Why don't we create one live?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll do it from scratch because I'm like, it's like the manual, like people who.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like driving a stick shift car.
Exactly, it's a stick shift thing. So I'm just at this point I'm so used to building with my own platform, but. I'm going to expose it through Gmail, and I'm going to do email received, and I'm going to do it on Florent at Lindy.ai. well, this is the real, I'm going to filter here. So I'm going to be like filter, and people are going to be able to try it live. So subject, and here, like if it contains Alex, or like if the subject is exactly Alex, then I'm going to do the stupidest like support thing possible. I'm just going to make it reply, and I'm going to be like reply, and if people ask for our refund policy, tell them we have none. This is very bad. But like right here,
So
it's like
once Flo sets it up, shoot him an email with me in the subject line and see if you learn about Lindy's refund policy.
that's right. So you email Florent@lindy.ai. The subject must be exactly Alex. The reason why I did this is because Florent@ is actually my inbox, so I don't want Lindy to do this. But look, I'll do it right now. Florent@lindy.ai, Alex, and then I'm gonna go like, hey, yo, what's up? What's your refund? What's your refund policy? Also, tell me a joke about giraffes. Boom. I'm gonna send you the email. I'm gonna go in the tasks right here. And because Gmail does this thing where like when you send an email, it actually doesn't send it immediately. It waits like 30 seconds to let you undo it. So we're gonna have to play elevator music here. But and again, this is like sort of like a toy agent, right? It's just like 2 steps, but it's not very different from what you would actually do. Like the step after that would be to like give it a knowledge base, and then like when you do that, you've gotta give it, you've got to plug it to like your Google Drive or like your website, your customer support base or whatever. And little by little, you just flesh it out. Like you can also like insert a condition here. That's like, okay, so if the user is just asking a question, you do this. If they're asking for a refund, you do that. And here, probably you.
I was just about to ask about this, which is like, let's just say a company has 500 FAQs that Lindy or the agent could easily answer. But let's just say there's a question that is an edge case. Is there a way to basically build the agent in which, if it notices an edge case, it sends it in Slack to an actual human support person that takes over the ticket?
100%. Super easy.
Yeah.
So, okay, the user asking the question, you search the knowledge base and then condition. If you found the answer to the question, you do this. If you didn't find the answer to the question, you do this. You go to Slack. It's right here. You send me a message. It's right here. And right here, I'm going to define the condition as you didn't find the answer to the question.
Yep.
I mean, and that's my point. Like, I just built all of this in like 30 seconds or something.
Yeah, and I actually think what's interesting is I think people almost, and maybe it's because this is how it was or like earlier kind of in the current AI cycle, but I think people just assume that it is going to take, there's almost like 2 things are true. The first thing that's true is likely the first time you set up an agent, something will be broken with it that you have to fix. It's not always going to one-shot your exact flow. But the second part can also be true, which is the amount of work to actually build a pretty useful agent also we're not talking dozens of hours.
No, we're talking, once you know how to use the platform, which like I suspect what I just showed to this audience, like hopefully it comes across as pretty simple. Yeah, it takes minutes. Right here you can see the example. Hey, yo, what's up? What's your refund policy? Tell me a joke about giraffes. And boom, hey, regarding our refund policy, we don't have one, and here's a giraffe joke for you. That's it. It's like the simplest agent. And right here, like this can save your company, depending on your size of your company, but it can save a lot of time and a lot of money. So I think there's like a lot of good reasons not to use agents yet. But I think, frankly, there's also just like a lot of inertia at this point. It's just like, look, it works. It saves a lot of money, and it's not hard to create or to use.
One more question for you, and then I want to, in the remaining 10 minutes, go to the audience for questions. So anyone who's watching, and if you have any questions for Flo or anything about building AI agents, drop it in the chat, and I'll scroll through and ask Flo them in a minute. But let's just say someone's watching and they're trying to figure out how to prioritize what agents to build first. What would be your suggestion? So like they want to start using Lindy today, and they're like, I want to build my first agent. What is the criteria by which you prioritize what to automate or outsource to an agent?
Yeah, I'm kind of reminded of like the best way to learn. Like I don't think is like to like buy a textbook and sit down and read. It's just to do it. It's just to do the simplest thing you can do. Like if you want to learn to code, just like build the simplest project you can build, and just like keep doing this, and you're gonna learn how to code. It's like the organic school of learning. I think it's the same thing for AI agents. It's like I feel like the midwit curve. It's like I think there's like the retard on the left of the curve that's like, I'm just gonna do things, and then there's a guy in the middle that's like, no, I need to like do frameworks and prioritization and spreadsheets, and then there's a guy on the right that's like, I'm just gonna do things. Like, look, some people have success. Like I think it's less fun, and I think it's less fast, and I think it's less successful. But I wouldn't necessarily sit down and go through the whole prioritization matrix and all of that stuff. I would literally just like brainstorm 2 or 3 ideas, like pick the one that seems simplest and that would bring you most value, and do it.
Yep. And also I feel like this is kind of a tried and true lesson in agents is like most of the time the highest leverage agents are the least sexy ones. Like they're like the least cool ones that would go viral on the internet, but they're the ones that actually like save a significant amount of labor time because it's just a process that's done over and over in your company.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this one final example, and then we can take questions. But speaking of this, like not necessarily super sexy agent, but literally yesterday I was talking to someone who's like, oh my god, I have like a VA that I've hired. That's basically 90% of what my VA does is this daily digest email. So like every morning, I want an email in my inbox that talks to me about my meetings and does like deep research about each meeting. And so this is actually funny because this is like 2 nested agent swarms. So every morning, wakes up, checks my meetings for the day, calculates how many meeting hours I have on that day because I like to have that at the top of my email. And then for every meeting and for every attendee of every meeting, look for their LinkedIn online, look for my email history with this person, look for my meeting notes history with this person because Lindy is also recording meetings and logging the notes in Google Drive. And then send me this email. And I'm like, okay, you send me a bullet list with the meetings I have today. You send me the LinkedIns of the people I'm meeting with, and you send me the context that you found about this meeting. And I'm actually going to edit it in particular from my inbox.
Love it. And as an example here, like if say, like I could imagine this is incredibly helpful for a salesperson, right? Like any sales org is if say it's a salesperson or a customer success person that a few of their meetings are with current clients. I'm assuming you could just add to this agent where it also looks at their HubSpot, their Salesforce or whatever, and is able to give them any context around like kind of the state of that client as well.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big use case for us. Is salespeople in general have so many use cases.
Yep. Love it. Okay, let's do, in the last few minutes, some questions from the group. So if you have any questions for Flo about building agents, whether it's like specific tactics or just his thoughts on agents moving forward, drop it in here. The first one is from Kellen, who said, how do you handle undoing something if you're using an agent and it doesn't update data or something correctly?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
How do you handle undoing something if you're using an agent and it doesn't update data or something correctly?
Yeah, 2 parts to the answer here. Like one is just very app dependent. Like if it's making an update on HubSpot, for example, HubSpot lets you undo any change and like see the change history to any entity, contact, whatever on HubSpot. That's number one. Number 2 is we do make it very easy for you to insert yourself as a human into the loop in these agents. So it's literally one click. You can select a step, and then there's like ask for confirmation before doing it, and you can turn it on, and then it's going to ask you for confirmation. The beauty of it is that as you give it more and more confirmation, it learns. And so at some point, like it's exactly the same as a human employee. Like at first it's onboarding, it sort of screws up. You sort of like you're behind their back. You watch them, and then little by little they get good enough, and you just like stop watching them.
Yep, love it. One question that I have as kind of viewer sharing is, and I mentioned this to you before, is kind of the difference between single player and multiplayer agents. And I feel like it's a lot of why even in AI right now, we see so much of the growth is on like the consumer or prosumer side, which is kind of like not necessarily characteristic of large like kind of VC cycles. Typically it's actually in B2B is where you see kind of the most rapid growth. But I think part of it is whether it's like ChatGPT or Grok or whatever, single player use is just easier. There's lower friction. And then you start thinking about a company where hypothetically there's 5 people involved in a process and it becomes a lot more complex because you need compliance from everyone. But one of the things, like as we've talked through these use cases in Lindy, most of them so far have been kind of like single player or multiplayer adjacent, meaning like your daily digest is really just created for you. And so what's beautiful around that is it's a contained environment where you don't need compliance from other people. But let's just say, even in the customer support flow you were talking about, where like, is there a way right now to build kind of multiplayer agents where based on an action that hypothetically was taken by your support person after they were messaged on Slack because the agent couldn't find the answer in the knowledge base, based on an action that they take, could the agent keep working? Like, is that built into kind of how you can build agents right now?
Yeah, 100%. And there are 2 ways to do this. You can do it either on platform or off platform. Like on platform, and that's part of what we just shipped as part of Lindy 3.0. Like we have these collaboration features now. So you can have a workspace, you can have members in your workspace, you can like share your agents with them as like editors or users only or whatnot. So that's the on-platform thing. And then the off-platform thing is like, look, we have all of these thousands of integrations. And so if you want your agent to, for example, ping your teammate on Slack to ask for confirmation, you can just configure your agent to do that. That's like a side effect of the primitives that we've put in place.
Love it. I think we're all set on questions. One final question for you is kind of what does the future look like over the next 6 to 12 months for Lindy and also just AI agents more broadly?
Yeah, I think we've got the big like building pieces in place. Like now, we've got computer use that really let you integrate with anything. We've got agent builder that makes it super easy to create your agent. Frankly, I think we're like entering an era of like stabilization. We're going to do like a stability release, or like I think for the rest of the year, we're just going to stabilize everything and like iterate on the product and make it shine. So it's perfect. So again, like in the spirit of being real with people, and that's a come to hucksterism, like it's early for agents in general. And this is like a 1984 Macintosh. It's a hell of a lot better than like the command line interface PC that was just like unusable for mere mortals. But it's early. So that's what's next for us, is just making it super solid, super reliable.
Love it. And last question before we hop, how can people find out more about Lindy and using the platform and building agents?
Yeah, go to lindy.ai. You can sign up in a couple of minutes.
Awesome. Flo, thank you so much for the conversation, and excited to do this soon in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Alex.
Thanks, man. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Bye.